Welcome to another RacerX readout brought to you by Renthal. A fraction of a second, a few grams, a couple of millimeters. It all counts. Welcome to the winning world of Renthal. This story comes from the January 2022 issue of RacerX magazine, and I, Jason Weigandt, wrote it. It's titled Paradigm Shift. Enjoy. Paradigm Shift. Because one title run changed the look for his motorcycle, his team, and himself, Dylan Ferrandis is the 2021 RacerX Rider of the Year. The news in early May was shocking. Eli Tomac would shun an offer to stay at Monster Energy Kawasaki, the team with which he had won 60 races and 4 titles, far more than any of his rivals during that time, to race a Yamaha YZ450F. For Star Racing, which was new to the class. Yes, Tomac left the brand with the longest sustained run of success in the sport, stretching nearly unbroken from Jeff Ward to Jeff Emig, Ricky Carmichael, James Stewart, Ryan Villopoto, and then Eli himself. He left. Well, it was shocking news back then at least, but a few weeks later, Dylan Ferrandis began his run to the Lucas Oil Pro Motocross Championship on a YZ450F, with support from Star, a team that was in its first year in the 450 class. And yes, Ferrandis even topped Eli Tomac on a Monster Energy Kawasaki KX450. Over the course of one summer, everything looks different now, to Ferrandis, to Star Racing, to the entire industry. That's how impactful this one title is, and that's why Dylan Ferrandis is the 2021 RacerX Rider of the Year. It's only easy to pick a Rider of the Year when one rider truly dominates all aspects of the game. We appear to be far away from those days. Ryan Villopoto and Ryan Dungey used to make sweeping Monster Energy AMA Supercross and Lucas Oil AMA Pro Motocross an annual occurrence in the 450 class. But as of now, Dungey's 2015 sweep of the two classes marks the last such feat. Tomac himself even won 3 straight motocross titles after letting Supercross crown slip away, but then he came up short in motocross once he finally reached the top in Supercross in 2020. So we were left with another difficult dilemma last year when Zach Osborne won the 450 motocross title and Tomac triumphed in Supercross. We gave the nod to Tomac because his Supercross quest had gone on for so long and was such a major boost to his legacy. Without that 2020 Supercross title, Tomac's career looks starkly different. It is a similar case for Ferrandis this year. Yes, the Frenchman had been sneakily dominant in the 250 ranks the last 2 seasons, taking 3 out of the 4 titles he competed for, back-to-back 250 SX West crowns, and the 250 motocross title. The only time over the last 2 years he didn't win a championship was motocross in 2019, when Adam Cianciarulo topped him by 20 points. That's a great run, but no amount of 250 wins and titles guarantees 450 success. In fact, predicting 250 success in the 450s is about as accurate as watching college football and the NFL draft in terms of predicting the next superstar pro quarterback. Plus, Ferrandis would be riding the Yamaha YZ450F, which has been digging out of a reputation hole since James Stewart walked away from the bike nearly a decade ago after 3 seasons of trying to make it work. This was not lost on Ferrandis, who is actually negotiating with teams to get on other bikes for his rookie 450 season. At one point, Ferrandis was close to a deal with the new Troy Lee Designs Red Bull Gas 450 team, but he ended up staying on blue, while the Gas ride went to Justin Barcia. Barcia, at that time, was trying to get off of the Yamaha. He and the old factory Yamaha unit had tried to make it work, and they had come close, even winning races. But Barcia felt he could do more on a different machine. We had heard all manner of attempts by Yamaha to get that bike to work for Barcia. That included several years with him riding for the old Joe Gibbs Racing Yamaha team, and then a few seasons with the factory Yamaha efforts. The attempts included Justin's own tireless testing to the off-season, living out of his motorhome in California to stay closer to the factory team. Yamaha brought in production test rider Travis Preston to work with the race team, and even Villopoto got in on the testing. But finally, Barcia walked. He would ride the Gas, based around the well-proven KTM and Husqvarna 450, while Ferrandis would become the next candidate, like Barcia, Cooper Webb, Aaron Plessinger, Chad Reed, Stewart, or the whole JGR team, to try to get that Yamaha 450 to work. except there was one big difference. Star Racing would now run the Yamaha 450 effort. According to Star's 450 team manager Jeremy Coker, they used some unorthodox methods once they found out they would be taking over Yamaha's 450 team. The team began testing a 450 by simply bolting the bigger engine into one of its very successful 250 machines. That includes the same chassis components, suspension, and all. Of course, it helps that Yamaha actually uses the same frame for both the 250 and 450 engines. Then the team spent a lot of time stripping weight off the Yamaha 450, which is one of the heavier bikes in the class. Coker says they took off a big chunk of weight by working closely with pipe and muffler maker FMF. And then they went to a gram strategy, taking every tiny fraction of weight off of every other part of the bike. And Ferrandis stuck with an air fork, which is lighter than a coil spring fork. The team says its 450 is around 10 pounds lighter than the previous factory Yamaha race bike. And the other big difference is power. The trend for many 450s, especially ones with the power potential of the Yamaha, is to try to reduce power, or at least build a controllable power band first. Star decided to do the opposite, and build the fastest 450 they could. And then they worked on controllability. Yes, lighter and faster. In Supercross, the results were okay. Ferrandis shocked with a podium at the second race of the year, but never made the box again. Plessinger, moving over from the factory Yamaha team, did show improvement, and Malcolm Stewart scored his first career 450 podium on a Star Racing Yamaha. It was good, but certainly not a sign that Ferrandis and Star were about to leap all the way to the front of the pack. Because by the end of Supercross, it was Cooper Webb and Red Bull KTM standing on top again, just as they did in 2019. And we named Webb that season's Rider of the Year. But like this year's outdoor crown for Ferrandis, that 19 title proved Webb was much more than just a 250 champion. Because Webb, of course, had suffered 2 rough seasons on a YZ 450F of his own. But that was on the Star-Crossed factory team, not Star Racing, where Webb had won all of his 250 races and titles. Webb's move from Yamaha to KTM completely changed his career trajectory. And this year's Supercross title saw Webb and his team operating on the same high level as usual. But the motocross title for Ferrandis flips the script completely. In fact, this is now about much more than just the Yamaha YZ450F, which of course Yamaha surely felt was capable of winning races and titles all along. And in their defense, in consumers' hands and shootouts and production tests, the bike usually fares well. With Star winning on that bike with Ferrandis, and also vaulting Plessinger to another level, this changes the paradigm not only of the motorcycle, but of the factory team versus satellite team conversation. Star is getting money and support from Yamaha, absolutely. But the ability to do things on its own, its agility, the chance to make quick changes and stop at nothing to win, it's something factories aren't always able to do. And Star will stretch this advantage further now with a game-changing move, race shop and all, from California to Ricky Carmichael's old goat farm in Cairo, Georgia, just north of Tallahassee, Florida. Operating a race shop at a test track on the East Coast, it's a step no one else took, but could possibly look like a must-do for everyone else just a few years from now. The undisputed global leader in manufacturing and design since 1969, Renthal has become notorious for a relentless obsession to detail and quality through their commitment to produce the finest products on the market today. With a history full of innovations in engineering and legendary component reliability, Renthal is universally regarded as the most trusted brand in the pro paddock and the first choice of the world's premier athletes and race teams. Now back to the story. Going 450 and winning, then moving operations cross-country, it all harkens back to the relentlessness of Star Racing's will to win. And in one fell swoop, Bobby Regan's private team has changed the reputation of itself, the bike it races, and the business model for factory and satellite teams. When former 450 powerhouses like RCH and JGRMX shut their doors, as well as Geico Honda's 250 program going away, it seemed like the satellite concept was finished. But Star's chances and success in both classes will lead everyone else to take a second look. We asked Tomac about the change and watching Ferrandis succeed this summer. At least it's like, hey, I know they can make this happen. It actually can be done, Tomac said of watching Ferrandis' performance on his own future team. That was really cool to see, and hopefully we can do that with Star in both Supercross and Motocross. All of this notwithstanding, this title really validates Dylan Ferrandis more than anything else. We've covered that in previous issues. While the Frenchman is talented and works hard, it took winning at this level for the entire world to see what he's truly capable of doing. Throughout the year, we tried to uncover the source of Ferrandis' heart and determination. Did he have a chip on his shoulder because he wasn't considered Europe's top-line talent like a Jeffrey Hurlings or a Ken Roczen? Was he motivated because he was never the most popular rider? Ferrandis shuns such simple narratives. The way I push when I'm on the bike, it's always been the same, Ferrandis says. I always did that. Since I can remember. Even when I was a kid, I was pushing. With the rider, bike, and team now established on a higher level, it leads to optimism for the future. In a recent episode of the Re-Raceables podcast, Steve Mathis and I interviewed Ryan Villopoto about his own career, and he discussed how hard it is to actually win both Supercross and Motocross titles in the same season, even though he did it twice, in 2011 and 2013. Villopoto is trying to identify someone who has the old school stuff, someone who'll never settle, and essentially erases all chances of a bad finish, because that's what wins titles. It's the winning and the consistency, right? Villopoto says. Ferrandis really stamped that with his performance at the final moto of the season at Hangtown. He had already wrapped up the title and came into the race talking of the mental and physical exhaustion of the season. Then he got caught in a first-turn pileup. Ferrandis took off in about 36th place and raced back through the field to finish third. It was enough to steal the overall win from Tomac with 1-3 moto scores. Ferrandis wouldn't settle, even after the title was settled. It wasn't like it was do or die. I wouldn't slip my wrist if I lost, but we were going there to win every single time, Villopoto says of his era. I looked at it like there was $120,000 on the line in bonuses every time we raced. I don't know. I don't see that urgency and that mentality out there anymore. In my day, a really, really bad race for us was fifth. A bad race was second or third, and I don't buy that the field is deeper than it has ever been. I got to give Ferrandis credit, Villopoto continues. Was he ever off the overall podium once all summer? Maybe he wasn't knocking down 1-1s all the time, but he had 21 moto podiums. That's what you call consistency. Consistent and winning races. So with Ferrandis, I'll call it that maybe he's the next one. That equation can only be completed with more Supercross data on Ferrandis. His 2021 indoor season was okay for a 450 rookie, but he still finished 151 points behind the Supercross champion, Webb. Ferrandis will have to take a huge step up to become a Supercross championship contender, become the type of rider who could win the 450 title both indoors and out in the same year. It hasn't been done since 2015. But at least now the world knows Ferrandis has the determination, the team, and the equipment to do it. And that's how one championship in 2021 changed the paradigm for everyone involved. And that's why Dylan Ferrandis is the 2021 Racer X Rider of the Year.